A lot of you out there have pets, I know. But when I was growing up, let me tell you, we had lots of pets. At one time, let's see, we had a raccoon, two possums, a flying squirrel, a killer chicken, that's another story, a duck, 7 or 8 cats, 2 or 3 dogs, and, just on and on and on. Now, all of these animals had one thing in common. They were all ugly. And I don't mean just regular ugly. I mean, these animals were ugly, ugly. And they all showed up at our house. You see, my mother had a soft spot for animals, and, well, if there were animals that nobody else wanted, well, that made it even better. It would be kind of like they would just, if somebody ever said to a dog, "You're ugly," that dog would say, "Oh, I know, let's go to Johnny's house," and they'd end up at our house. And my mother would always say the same thing. She'd take one look at that animal sitting there on the front porch, ugly as could be, and she'd say, "Oh, he's so cute." Well, one day, my mother and I were sitting at the table. We'd eat breakfast a lot of times together, early in the morning, just the two of us, and we were sitting there at the table when all of a sudden we heard this terrible noise outside. It was like, it was the most horrible noise I've ever heard in my life. We jumped up, we ran to the door, yanked that door open, and there, sitting on the front porch, was the ugliest cat in the world. I don't mean regular ugly. I mean ugly, ugly. This cat's tail was only about 2 inches long. I guess the rest of it had been cut off in a door somewhere. Had one eye. The other one was kind of just white. One ear stuck straight up. The other one was hanging down. Both of them were chewed half off. And this cat was about 2 inches wide. This thing was ugly. My mother looked out and she said, "Oh, he's so cute." I looked out I said, "Mama, it's time for you to get glasses. That cat ain't cute. That cat is ugly. The back end of a mule is better looking than that cat." But, of course, that meant nothing to my mother. She thought he was cute, and so the cat stayed. I soon found out this cat was not only ugly, this cat was weird. And I don't mean regular weird. I mean really weird. My mother would go and buy cat food. And not just this regular cheap little cat food that you see people buy. My mother would go down and she'd buy that cat food like you see on television, where they put it in this crystal bowl and go ding, ding, ding. This beautiful fluffy white cat, wearing a crown or something, comes out, lays on this velvet pillow and eats this food. That's the kind of food my mother bought for the cats. Most cats would go, "Oh man, that's great. Oh, thank you so much." Boom, they eat it all down. This cat, take one look at that food and say, "I ain't eating that stuff." Then this cat would go out and find the smelliest, rottenest thing. If she found something that had been dead for 2 weeks, that was even better. Now, the cat, of course, for example, maybe the cat might go out and find some big old fat possum got run over by a truck. Bad looking. And that cat, of course, couldn't eat all of it at one time. But instead of burying it like a dog would do, this cat would bring what was left and leave it right on the front porch, right by the door, where when I'd walk out first thing in the morning barefooted, headed down to the beach to go surfing or swimming or something, right on top of it. I was like, "Oh, that's so gross." And my mother would say, "Well, Johnny, the cat just brought you a present because he loves you." And I said, "Mama, I wish this cat didn't love me. What's this cat going to bring me for my birthday, a dead horse or something?" But this cat's favorite place to get food was down on the corner. There was this little store called Winge's Drugstore. Now, Winge's Drugstore was a drugstore, but it was also like a little restaurant and everything too. And Mr. Winge's would serve different kinds of meals every single day. One Monday would be hot dogs, and Tuesday would be hamburgers, and on and on. And Mr. Winge's out back, he had this big trash can. Now, this wasn't like a regular wimpy little trash can. This is like an Arnold Schwarzenegger trash can. This thing was like big, huge around, and tall as I am. And it sat right there by the back porch. And Mr. Winge's, every morning, he'd come out with the food that was left over from the day before, and he'd throw it in that trash can. Now, this was a really big trash can, like I said, and because of that, it didn't get emptied like every day. And it would get filled full of stuff, and stuff would pile up in there. And to tell you, the stuff down at the bottom, it'd get squished down there. That old hot summer sun be beating on it. Things be, it'd smell so bad. You'd be 2 blocks away. The wind start blowing your direction. You have to hold your nose and go, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Winge's done thrown some more food away." Well, it was so bad The flies, they'd be flying around this trash can. If they ever made the mistake of flying over top of it, drop dead in the trash can. That was this cat's favorite place to go eat. This cat wouldn't, like eat stuff off the top. This cat would crawl all the way down to the bottom. And that's where you get, there was stuff down there. You could make horror movies out of what was down the bottom of that trash can. This cat would go down there and go, oh man, this is so good. We're going to eat away. Well, one day this cat crawled down that trash can, just got down in there. Mr. Wynn just came out the door. The night before had been spaghetti night. He had this big old huge pot of leftover spaghetti sauce. And he dumped it right in that trash can. Covered that cat completely. Mr. Williams didn't even know what he'd done. His cat comes flying out of that trash can. I'm covered from head to toe with this red spaghetti sauce. Now, cats are, for the most part, are pretty clean animals. If they get one little speck of dirt on their foot, they go, ah, and they lick it all up. Most cats would have gone, ah, and run away screaming. This cat looks down and goes, cool, food to go. And then to make it worse, this cat started rolling in the dirt and the sand and the grass and the leaves. And this cat standing there is all covered with this red spaghetti sauce. Got leaves, dead flies, grass, everything sticking all over him. This cat's going, looking good, which is true because the cat looked better now than he did before. But then the cat decided, getting all dressed up like that required a nap. So he went to his favorite place to take a nap, right next to our trash cans. This cat lays out there in the sun. It's the summertime. It's about 98 degrees. That sun's beating down. That cat's laid out there right next to those trash cans out in the sun. That sun's beating down on that spaghetti sauce. That spaghetti sauce is them dead flies, leaves, sticks, and everything. And that stuff starts drying, and pretty soon that cat was as stiff as a board. You could have picked him up by that little stubby tail and just held him out. He would have been stuck straight out. About 15 minutes later, here comes the trash man. Pulls up, boom, stops, starts emptying the trash cans, look down, sees this cat laying by the trash cans. This cat's laying there, hair sticking out all over the place, solid red, dried little spaghetti sauce, looks just like blood, got dead flies, leaves, dirt, everything stuck all over. And that man looks down and says, oh, look at that poor kitty. It looks like he got run over by a tractor-trailer truck. He grabbed that shovel, he scooped that cat up, tossed him right in the back of the truck. Well, there's no sooner did that cat hit the back of the truck, that cat came out of that truck, and he was mad. He come out there, and boom, landed right on that guy's chest. Those claws dug in there. That guy thought a ghost had come out of that truck. He grabbed that cat, boom, cat went up in the air, man went down the road fast as he could run. The other guy, he jumps in the truck, took him 2 blocks to catch up with him. Well, it was about 3 weeks before we could finally get him to stop at our house to pick up the trash. Had to stand out in the road with this cat waving in the air, go, look, he's alive, it ain't a ghost. But I figured, honestly, as bad as that cat looked, there wasn't any way he could live, more than a month. That stinking cat was at our house for 5, 6, 7, I don't know. When I left home, that cat was still there. That cat got uglier every year. And it was so bad. I'd be at school, and I'd ask some of our friends, hey, you want to come over to my house? And that cat would look at me and says, your house? You seen that cat lives at your house? I ain't coming to your house, man. That cat rubbed up against my leg, it'd fall off or something, man. And that cat loved me. Well, I remember one time, I'm sitting there in a chair, I fell asleep watching television. I wake up, here's this cat curled up right on my stomach. I looked down, I said, Mama, get it off of me quick! But of course, every day, that cat would be at the front porch. My mother looked up. What'd she say? Oh, he's so cute.